building a strengths-based culture is really about being able to kind of shine a light on what is everybody good at? How do we create an organization that helps them do more of the things they love and maybe less of the things they don't? Because who doesn't want to do that, really? And the reality is there's such diversity within any team that there's always someone on the team. If there's, an element of how a team operates that maybe I don't really enjoy, but someone else does, there's always that someone else, right? That's going to enjoy the thing that I don't. And so it's really about just defining that and figuring out what is that so that we can design a culture that allows us to, as much as possible, let people do the things that make them the happiest.
Hi, and welcome to Season 8 of the 15-ish Minute Coffee Chat with Anna Larson and Selena Conmack. Together with their rotating panel of expert guests, these real-life boss babes share lessons learned and best practices you can use to level up your business. Anna is the owner of Nomad About and is known for blending killer copy with proven marketing methods to create exciting business communications. Selena owns Howley Socially Inspired, and from layout to launch, her sleek website design and trending social media strategies provide a memorable customer experience with a taste of that famous Aloha spirit. Now it's time to laugh and be inspired, so grab a cup of coffee and enjoy the show.
Knowing who you are, having language for who you are, makes it 10 times easier to design your business process to fit the best of you. Join us as we chat with Jen Pasquale of Pride and Grit. That's all I'm going to do. We're going to do the rest. Anna, it's all you.
It's all me. So we just first want to welcome everyone to our 15-ish minute coffee chat today. We're super excited to have on Jen Pasquale, who has been a guest of ours previously, but for a completely different topic, if you can believe it. So the first thing I want to ask is, where are you joining us from right now? If you could just drop in the comments and tell us where you're coming from. And then the second thing I'm going to throw up there is our call to action, which is, do you consider your business or organization to be strengths based? Yes or no? And this is a really interesting question, because if it's strengths based, what does that exactly mean, right? I'm excited to have that conversation today with Jen.
I know. Hi, I'm back. So I did this the last time, guys. One, I think I have my earphones in the wrong earbuds, but that's okay. Two, last time, so what it is I'll go live and I put like the YouTube version of our thing on my TV. And hi, oh gosh, that's still a drive. I wonder how many hours that is. Anyway, and so the TV goes on, and as this started playing, I heard us in our living room. And anyway, sorry to start our show off. We're gonna have to redo that intro.
We'll definitely redo for the podcast, but for live, this is the kind of stuff that happens when you go live. But yeah. I mean, that's real life, right?
Yeah. You just don't sweat the small stuff. That was a book that I got from one of my bosses way back when I was like in my 20s. And that was a lifesaver of a book. Anyway, it's not about that book. It's about Jen.
It is about Jen today, and it's about strengths. And I personally am a huge fan of this. I mean, I want to wait until she's on to have like the conversation about strengths and whatnot, but let's pull up her bio. Let's pull up her bio and let's see what we're gonna do with Jen today.
Yes. All right. Oh, hi. We do this all the time. All right. Go ahead, Anna.
All right. So clearly you can read the same bio I am, but I'm just going to give you some highlights. So Jen is a 20-year veteran of training and development industry. She worked as an instructional designer and a corporate trainer and a facilitator. She's also a Gallup certified strengths coach. That means she gets to bring Gallup's Clifton Strengths Talent Assessment to both individuals and teams. She helps clients uncover and fall in love with their unique talents. This is the part I love about it. She also helps you develop a language for how that's going to show up into your life. And then with your teams, Jen is helping organizations create strengths-based culture that is rich in individuality and engagement. She helps teams lean into their collective strengths so that each member can shine and find the kind of joy that fosters loyalty and productivity. So it's super excited, and let's bring in Jen.
Yeah, do it, Anna. Hi, Jen.
Hello, friends.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Happy Tuesday.
I know. I thought yesterday was Tuesday and almost took a medication that's specially saved for Tuesday. And I was like, ALXEYXA. What day is today? You guys, this is you seeing me at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I think I lose my marbles when we do a later broadcast, so I apologize, Jen.
I am grateful for you doing that for me.
No. I'm giving you my best, I promise. All right, guys, Anna, first of all, let's do our coffee cup selfie, because I know I'm still having coffee at this late time. Jen, you're a busy woman. You got lots going on. So on 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay, like Anna mentioned earlier, we want to dive into all of the things. So not go away, Anna. Sorry.
She is all over the place. All right,
guys.
And we're going to dive into all the things. So I'm going to start us off with our very first question, because this really is a topic super fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So our very first question is, what is a strengths-based business? You might even have to back up a little bit and make sure people even know what Gallup certified strengths.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Tell them what that is first before you answer this. Good thought.
No, happy to do that, because I couldn't have, I don't know that I could have answered this question,
right.
2 years ago. But I mean, I think there's this sort of natural definition, and you can kind of imagine what that is. But from a Gallup standpoint, and the work that I do is really about helping organizations both like uncover what the individuals within the organization are best at. So what do they just naturally do really well that comes easy to them? They find fun in it. It's the kind of work they could do all day long because it's just enjoyable for them. And then if you're an organization who really tries to harness that as a way to build your teams and a way to really invest in your people, then that's part of what, building a strengths-based culture is really about, being able to kind of shine a light on what is everybody good at? How do we create an organization that helps them do more of the things they love and maybe less of the things they don't? Because who doesn't want to do that, really? Yeah. And the reality is there's such diversity within any team that there's always someone on the team, if there's, an element of how a team operates that maybe I don't really enjoy, but someone else does, there's always that someone else, right, that's going to enjoy the thing that I don't. And so it's really about just defining that and figuring out what is that, so that we can design a culture that allows us to, as much as possible, let people do the things that make them the happiest.
Yeah. Love that.
And I can imagine in a situation like that, that's how you're going to retain employees. You're going to create company loyalty from your employees. People are going to feel more appreciated because they're doing something that they feel good about and comfortable with. I mean, I can see so many benefits. And if you're not working in a team, but applying that to your own personal professional life, like as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, or even super small business owner, like just that idea that there's that same thing applies, right?
Yeah. I want to say to you, Jen, so one of my previous corporate jobs, one of the things for us managers in planning was we had to always use the term putting your aces in places. And that's just like putting the strength where they go so that our whole shift is successful. And so every time I think of what you do, I always remember that term that we use, because I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Putting the strength where it will suit the team best, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And I think one of the things I love about sort of how Gallup approaches this, and Anna, to your point, to kind of go backwards a step, like the work that I do with organizations, it gives them the ability to tap into some of the tools that Gallup has. So they have an assessment called the Clifton Strengths Assessment, which is essentially it's a 177 question, assessment that individuals can take. And the output of that gives them a ranking. And there's different versions of the test you can take, but the most robust version gives you a rank order of 1 to 34 of these 34 strengths that Gallup has identified are kind of the most sort of commonly shown up ones within an organization, within an individual. So these are all the different ways that people show up, the natural talents that they have. And what the assessment lets you do is sort of see, well, where am I strongest, but also more importantly, where am I sort of weakest? And really what's, I think, different about having a strengths-based culture is that you're not as much focused on trying to move people from, you're not trying to help people get better at the things they already don't enjoy doing. So I think they're in sort of a companies, there used to be more of a culture where if there's this deficit that someone has, like we're gonna, we want to make sure that they continue to get better at that. And yes, we can always all continue to grow. But what Gallup has found is that if you'll invest your time and your effort in growing that best of you, you will be exponentially better at those things. If you spend a similar amount of effort trying to grow the things that are kind of at the bottom for you, you're only going to get marginally better. Like you can improve. Absolutely. It's not that we shouldn't try to improve, but that improvement is going to be relatively small. And so that's where it's a focus on that top tier instead, and moving that forward instead of kind of getting hung up by that kind of bottom tier. And when you do when I did the assessment, it was very transformative for me, because all of a sudden I realized, oh, there's all these things at the bottom that have always been kind of hard for me. That's why. It's because they're at the bottom. That's not who I was designed to be, in how I'm designed to operate best. And that's okay. And it's sort of like letting go of the idea that I don't need to be good at absolutely everything. It's more important for me to really hone in on those things that I'm great at and just grow them and get even better at them. And that's how I can really help a team. And that's how I can really kind of be stronger in who I am.
I love that so much. I really do.
It reminds me, we had a guest on, almost a year and a half ago. Anyway, it was Sarah Wardell, and she said something that it's always stuck with me. She said, we can wear all the hats, but some people just look better in other hats than we do. And I was like, that's so poignant, right? Like, that's how I feel like that strengths thing is, there are hats I look really good in, and there are hats that do not suit me as much, but doesn't mean I can't wear it.
Right.
Just isn't the hat that looks best on me.
And I think you're giving the people like an opportunity to recognize, to not beat themselves up that hat doesn't look great. You're trying your best, and I think like when I took your last year, when I went there, that helped me realize that I don't have to try to be all the things as an individual, right? And I'm coming from an individual perspective. So anyway, we'll talk more about that after. But yes, Anna, I do remember that.
Yeah, that's kind of it flows perfectly into our next question, actually, which is, what is the difference between those personal and professional strengths? Like, how do you apply each one? I mean, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, from Gallup's standpoint, that the assessment really provides the ability to just understand better who you are and how you show up, right? And then how you apply that is up to you. So when I look at my strengths, there's certain strengths that I know show up more, like as a parent, as a spouse, and they show up a little more at home in terms of how I operate. And then there's others that I definitely see more in my professional life. So what I love about it is that there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how you apply it, where you apply it. It's really just about knowing it, owning it, getting familiar with it, so that you, like what's happened to me over time is my ability to kind of tap into those. So like if I'm struggling with something, I now have the ability to say, okay, I know these are some of my top, talents and strengths. How can I leverage that particular talent right now to solve this problem? And so that's the part that I love, is being able to really tap into it, whether it's a professional problem you're trying to solve or a personal, problem you're trying to solve, knowing how to sort of turn those strengths up and down and kind of lean into them a little bit more when you need to, and know like, what is the good of that particular talent and how can I leverage it? That's the part that that's when I get kind of excited, because it can be really powerful to now have this whole set of tools that I never had before for how to just operate.
Would you be willing, Jen, to give us an example of kind of what you're talking about?
Sure.
I know I'm throwing this one at you without any warning at all.
You're fine. Obviously, if I know anything, I know my top talents.
Yeah.
So a story I can share is that when I did this assessment a couple of years ago now, but when I first did the assessment, what showed up at the bottom for me, number 34, was positivity. And that was really fascinating to me, because there's plenty of people in my life that would be like, no, that's not right. But it was totally right, because what I knew about myself is that I had struggled for so long with being kind of the glass half empty person. Like my husband's totally the glass half full, right? I am very much the glass half empty. It's not that I'm necessarily a pessimist, but I'm very much a pragmatist. And so I don't naturally just sort of find all the wonderful things about any hard situation, right? I can get there, but it is not my natural tendency. And I had often, like, especially in my life, in military life, I very much struggled with what I felt like were people around me that did that well. Like they could find the silver linings at the drop of a hat, right? That's just how they operate. And it wasn't how I operated. And I think for a long time, I felt like that was wrong about me, that I was missing. I was missing the ability to focus on my mindset. And I was missing the ability to do all these other things.
Right.
And it was like, oh no, I'm not supposed, that is not the gift I bring to the world, right? There's plenty of people that bring that gift. And that is not my superpower. But as an alternative, like the flip of that is my number one strength is what's called restorative. And restorative sort of at its core is someone who both finds joy and has the potential to be just keenly able to find sort of the problems in something and restore them back to, a better operating. So I can go into a situation, go into a meeting, and I can find like ways to solve the problem that maybe other people don't see or don't think about.
Yeah.
And again, like this is where I think understanding these talents from a 360 view is really important, because I think I had always felt like I was like this problem finder, right? Like I felt like I was always I'm always finding the downside of things, right? That's that pessimist view. When I was able to put that through a lens of actually solving problems and maybe solving problems that other people aren't seeing, well, then it becomes kind of a superpower, right? Now that is the thing that I bring to a team that maybe the team needs. And so it's for me, what I love about it is it just gives you these kind of unique lenses through which to see yourself and see your contribution in a way that really does celebrate those things that you are just naturally good at and gives you kind of grace for those things that maybe you're not.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's fun, but I think it both for individuals, but then being able to translate that into a team and a business environment and say, okay, here's what I bring to the table. Here's what I can do for this organization on this team because I have these specific talents. So it's a lot of fun.
Jen, this is what the two first things I did after I went to the Evolve retreat last year. I went to my husband and I said, you must take this Strength Finder because I want to know. I want to validate what I think, how we work. Then I went to Anna and I said, I am so curious to see what yours is and what mine is. And, she researched and we were just chit-chatting about it. And we have to get back into it because I've forgotten our conversation because so much has happened in our lives since then. But this is revisiting that. Like, how well do Anna and I work based on our Strength Finder results, right? So I'd love to kind of just give you our results and you just give us a little thing like offline and be like, look, I mean, Anna and I are really, it's so funny. Anna and I work really well together. Like, I don't think I've ever worked with someone as well as I do with Hannah. So I'm curious what this thing is that her and I have that makes it jive so well, and,
yeah, no, it would be interesting. But I think, the thing you said is really important, which is that in order to really leverage this, it is an iterative process, right?
Yeah.
Like it is not a one and done. It is not that you take the assessment and magically you have all the answers, right? There's so much nuance to understanding it. And there's so much nuance to being able to apply it. And when I do workshops, I often equate it to like a yoga practice, right? Like it is something you have to do regularly to be able to kind of call on it when you need to. But if you get to that point and you put that effort in, it can really be just an amazing tool for you to be able to call those strengths up when you need them, or importantly, to dial them down. Like if I'm in a meeting and no one wants me to solve problems, then I need to dial that restorative back, or I'm just going to kind of annoy everyone by asking all these questions about problems that don't exist. When I first started working with a coach, she had sort of warned me. She said the challenge, the backside, if you will, of restorative is that you can, there's dishes in the sink. And for me, that's a problem that I need to solve. It's not just dishes in the sink, right? It takes on this other layer because of how I think. And so she said, you just have to be careful that you don't find problems where there aren't any. Or you don't make problems so you can solve them because that's fun for you.
Yeah.
So there's, that's that 360 view of really understanding all that nuance. Then that's just one, right? That's just one talent. And there's so much more dimension even to that one. And then, times it by 34. And,
right. No, some of the things you're saying, I'm like, Anna, I feel like Jen is like the female version of my husband. Like she's talking about certain things and I'm like, that is Paul. That is my husband. You know what I mean?
Well, and the interesting thing about these is that it's not that any one talent has sort of rights to all ways of operating, within that, right? So there's a ton of crossover. There's a lot of interplay between them.
Yeah.
And so it's just part of it is just understanding that. So are there other people that are great problem solvers that are not restorative people? Absolutely. But it shows up differently for them and they draw on, that sort of energy differently. So
I love how you have two things that are so similar, but just applied differently, make a huge difference in the way both you operate, how you operate within a group or team setting, but also how people will perceive your value and what you're bringing to the table. Like those three things right there, that is a huge part of being able to, like, as a business owner, being able to, grow sales and build your clientele and be successful and really thrive in what you're doing. And so I love how you've applied this where you're like, I'm not a pessimist. That's not what that means. It just sees I bring positivity, or I bring the problem solving in a different way than someone else. And that right there, I think, is what's so key about these strength finders, because you felt lacking in some area for so long until now you're like, wait, I'm not lacking. I just don't do it this way. I do it this way.
Right. Yeah. I didn't have the language.
Well, that's the perfect. You just totally
perfect.
Perfectly into our final question for you today, Jen. So I'm going to throw this up here. How does having language for the areas you struggle in help you?
I think it's everything you said, Anna, which is that I think for me, the language was really the powerful thing, right? It is being able to change that narrative in my head about how I'm showing up, because now I understand the value of that and I understand how it benefits a team. It's being able to have language for how our coworkers are showing up to that team, right? Like to your example, if I'm working in a team and I did a workshop recently for a group of kind of senior executives at a corporation, and part of what comes up in these conversations when you're working with a team is being able to now see someone else through a different lens, right? So now you see, oh, okay, I know that Anna has high responsibility. So now I understand why she feels like we need to, check these certain boxes before we move on to the next task, because she's really concerned about making sure we're meeting the objectives that we've put out. So instead of feeling like someone on the team is holding the team back, or they're making it harder to make a decision, or, whatever kind of negative story we might have told about that, now we have language for who that person is, why they're making the choice that they're making. Like there's a talent called input, and input people are kind of collectors of things. They're collectors of people. They're collectors of information. Yeah. And so an input person on a team is going to want to ask all the questions, right? They're going to want to turn over all the stones and understand so much about the objective we're working on. Well, if I know that about them and I have language for even them, not just me, but language for them, now I understand where their questions are coming from. And now I understand, how do I help them satisfy that need that they have, so that they feel included and they feel like their voice matters. And we feel like this is really a cohesive effort. Yeah. And that language, to me, is what allows both an individual to get there, but it's also what allows a team to get there, where the team can kind of develop, what is the team's personality? What is the team's kind of language for how they operate? Where do they operate really well? Where do they struggle? And what do they need to be aware of in terms of how they operate? That's all part of having that language that certainly this model gives. And I think strength space helps people just lean into that more often than focusing on, again, those things that we're just maybe not as good at.
Yeah. So we had a question come in, Jen. How do you know what you don't know? Where do you start learning this language?
Mhm.
So when I
Good
talk
one,
about
Jen.
that language, it's really going through this process. So taking the assessment, what Gallup provides as an output is incredible. Like it's Gallup, right? They love data, they love research, like they've got all the backing. And so what you get as a report from this is incredibly extensive. And so, and incredibly customized. What I love about it is that it will help you really see how you specifically operate. So even though Selena and I could both be restorative, our reports are going to look different because our reports and the information in them is based on all of our other talents too. So it's really this kind of collective assessment and this collective, report, if you will, on who you are and what those talents really look like.
Yeah.
And, how do they get in your way? There's information in there about like, what's the blind spot of being restorative, so that I see that and go, oh, right. People might think I'm kind of nixing all their ideas. I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to think of how this could go wrong.
Yeah.
So, that's the language I'm talking about, John, is the report really gives you that. And then the more you work with strengths and the more you're in a strengths-based culture, there's some organizations where it's very much ingrained in their culture. They, you can get like name cards that have your talents on them. And that comes to the meeting and like, oh, right. Okay. You're this,
Right.
and, you're restorative or you're whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gives you that lens through which to see why is someone asking that particular question? Like, where's the question coming from? Oh, it's coming from kind of their need to do what they do best. These are the things they do best. And they're trying to satisfy that need. So the language also comes from just the iterations, like continuing to work with it, continuing to be in an environment that fosters it.
Yeah.
And then kind of doing the work yourself helps develop all of that.
Yeah. No, I can attest. I'm just going to say when I left the event last year, I got language that helped me understand more people around me, my clients that I worked with, people that I contracted with, like all these things. It's like this light bulb went off because I could also take a step back. I'm pretty calm, right, Anna? I mean, but like that one allowed me to.
The frantic.
Yeah, don't rewind back this tape to minute 30. However, but you know what I mean? It true, like knowing what all this is and recognizing and understanding it. I don't know. It just makes you a better business owner, a better individual, better human, all the things. So.
Well, I think that it just makes you more aware of how you operate and how others operate, which is never a bad thing, right? Because you're now allowed to give grace for things that maybe don't go the way you want it to go, or understanding the need for someone to have like those levels of input, like you were talking about, and being able to step back and be like, it's an extra 3 minutes of this meeting for them to check the boxes. It gives them what they need, and our team progresses at a good pace forward, right? As opposed to now them feeling frantic or unuseful, or you know what I'm saying? Like I can see so many benefits from this. And so I did Strengths Finder years ago, like the first time. It was a lot of years ago. I need to redo it. Not that I think I'm going to get different results, maybe.
Yeah, you won't.
It's more I think the data and the content is probably much improved from 15-ish, maybe even 20 years ago since I first took it. And so anyway, but the one thing I remembered from there too that I thought was so fascinating was how they really made it a point to say your bottom strengths aren't failures.
Right. Absolutely.
They're not failures. It's not like you still can do these things.
Yes.
Everyone can do these things. But if you focus on these ones, then you'll really shine in the areas you're really great at, And I always thought that was such a great way to look at it, like it's not a failure list. Like, I'm bad at this, good at this. It's like all of these are capable.
I see it more as like a place where you can just give yourself permission to stop trying to be those things. If you need to call on them, you can. And I do. Like there are some at my bottom that I can call on if I need to, but I'm not naturally going to go there. And that is probably a good thing because it's just going to take more out of me. So you're absolutely right. And I love that. Because sometimes people, I'll be doing a workshop, and as an example, someone will have like, I don't know, well, empathy is number 34. And they're like, but I think I'm empathetic. I don't know, like, hang on.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not, it's not that you can't get there. Some of it is how sort of Gallup defines empathy, but some of it is just that you're going to use maybe more your strategic side to connect with people, or your relationship side to connect with people, to help them feel heard and seen, and for you to kind of absorb some of what they're experiencing. So you're just going to get there a different way. And you're going to get there the way that works for you. But knowing that is, I think, a little easier, because then you're not trying to be someone else.
Yeah, so
I would
true.
love it. I would love it if they did every high school senior graduate took a strengths finder test, just so that they could say to themselves, I am good at this, as they start that progression into their career path.
Yeah.
And just kind of figuring out who they are and having that positive, like, I'm great in these areas kind of moment. Not that only high school graduates need it, but I'm thinking like starting with them young. But now, if you are a business owner right now, or entrepreneur, and you have not taken this strengths finder test, we highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Right?
No. I love it so much. I was scrambling through my emails to find my top, I have to share this. My top 5 strengths were strategic, communication, developer, positivity, and includer.
Yeah.
And I have to relook at what all of those are. I do remember strategic, and I was like, man, that was spot on, because it's something that I love to do in any capacity, right? And I was like, okay, so being a digital strategist makes sense to me, because I'm good at that. I can look at a picture and anyway, but this just helped me validate that, oh, this is why it feels natural to me. Right, Jen? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, having, known you a little bit, like I definitely see all of those for sure.
Yeah.
And it, I was thinking developer in particular, personally, like, I feel like you're developing me on a regular basis.
I wish. I try to develop my dog. That's it. That's about all anyway. Okay. Sorry. You guys, I really can't like say enough about it. I just, from Jen and like having been to the, like, and just, I don't know, it's been good for me in business. And it also has been good for me just personally, because I think, and one of the things at this event is a lot of us spouses were discussing how we saw our husbands lying in a strength, and then having the discussions of how those strengths like changed how we felt about something. And instead of being frustrated and then being this, there was a lot more understanding, because like I said, now you've given us language, right, to wrap around. And like John's like, how do you know? Now we know, it's not like it's every 100%, right? You're going to be, oh, now I get it. Now life is great. Now we're all going to be holding hands and skipping down the road. Like, for some that will take it, I hope you do take it and embrace it, because I think it's only going to help.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, that what I've learned over the process is that having, I do think that strengths is one, the strengths finder, the Clifton Strengths Assessment is one where if you can find sort of the resources to have a coach walk you through it.
Yeah.
Reading it is great, and you'll learn a ton just by reading it. But having someone really help you connect some of the dots is, I think, where a lot of the power of it can come from. So whether that's in a workshop setting or a one-on-one setting, like whatever you can tap into, I think just keeping that in mind, because I wish, if I could go back in time, I wish I had done more of that in the very beginning and done it in like quicker succession, because I think I could have learned a lot, in those early months when I had first taken it. And I didn't, because I thought, oh, I'll just, I can read this and I can figure it out, it's all fine.
All right.
And I did. But once I actually had someone who could really help me walk through it and help me make those, connections, it sort of changed how I was able to apply it and able to call on those talents and strengths when I needed them.
Yeah.
Versus before, it was really just more information.
No,
I love that.
And then I'm just going to say this like one more time, like I'm going back to the aces and places. And when we would go on a night, a manager would be responsible for like placing our staff on the floor in certain sections and whatnot, and regular in times to handle this or that. You could see when a manager did not put aces in places and what it did to the team, to its morale, and how the end of the shift, was. I mean, there is not like Yeah, we ran a restaurant, but still, like, there was not a successful feeling at the end of the night. We've, guests maybe didn't get kind of like the best of everything because they didn't. Anyway, man, I would have loved to have given that to our staff, like a strength finder, and say, hey, like, let's sit down. Like, I know I can tell you you're great here, but this is why you're great here. This is why you know how to seat 200 guests in 30 minutes without sweating,
Just in many ways, like, and there's a ton of data that Gallup has captured over the years about kind of what is creating a strengths-based culture and really investing in that and leaning into that. What does that do to the organization?
Yeah.
And the efficiency that it creates within the organization is significant.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you want more engaged organizations, which who doesn't, who's running a company that doesn't want a more engaged team?
Yeah.
Strengths is definitely a place where they've got data to back up the fact that if you can help people do this work,
right,
they will be more engaged, because why wouldn't you be more engaged in work that you love, right? Of course.
For sure.
And then, and just efficient, right? So it's both being more effective, more engaged and efficient. So there's so many things that can come from it for organizations that choose to really decide that this is the direction they want to go.
Yeah.
But even if it's an individual, you can still bring that to the table.
Yes.
And that's huge.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to tell you what as an individual, what it did for me is it allowed me to put the card down that I don't know how to play, and I outsourced it, right? Because that's what I can do as an individual. I don't like to do my own bookkeeping. I outsourced it. It's definitely nowhere probably on my strengths list, not even close, right? So I think don't think just team oriented and only do this, but like as an individual, it really kind of helps you like, hey, what can I, okay, it's okay to outsource this because this is not my strength. I will focus more on what I do really well and, get the things that, anyway, okay. We could talk on and on about strengths and all the things. You guys, I know you'll want to continue this conversation, right?
Definitely.
So Jen, tell everybody where they can find you.
So there are two places. So I am with Pride and Grit. So I have prideandgrit.com for all of our military focused efforts and the Evolve retreat that Selena, you'd mentioned. And then I also have jenpasquale.com, which is really my kind of strengths focus website for any of that work, for coaching and workshops and so forth. On LinkedIn under my name, Jennifer Pasquale, and then Pride and Grit, you can find both on Instagram and Facebook under @Pride and Grit.
Awesome. Jen, can I ask you real fast, the jenpasquale.com, can they like book time with you if they are interested in furthering the strengths? Is that how that works?
Yep.
They go there?
So from there, you can, there's several different, you could book a discovery call so we can chat about like, does it make sense for you?
Yeah.
What would it look like to do one-on-one coaching after you've done your assessment? So there's an option to go through that process and be able to connect with me in that way.
Love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to bring up our toolkit. I'll let Anna talk about it for a minute.
Yeah. So last year I was very sad. I did not get to attend the Evolve retreat. We were in the process of moving, but they're having it for the second year now. The Evolve retreat is tailor-made for seasoned military spouses. And when we say seasoned, we don't mean you have to be old. It's just that you've lived the life, you feel like you have reached that point where you're like, I've been there, I've done that. And so this is just a community that Jen has created, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And the community basically is just like a support network. And this retreat really focuses on kind of those seasoned spouse topics. And one of them is going to be that strengths finder portion of it, which is really your own personal identity, who you are as a military spouse and what you bring to the table. Jen, am I missing anything? Like, what else would you say about this retreat? Like, just do it.
You have some great speakers, Jen.
Yeah. Well, so there is definitely a strengths element. So I'll be leading a 4-hour workshop on Sunday that is all about, we'll do the Clifton strengths. She'll have the ability to do the full assessment and walk through it. We'll have a bunch of exercises planned where you can really start to dive into it and hopefully at least walk away with a solid understanding of it. And then the day prior to that, though, we've got a whole day where we're really focused more on kind of talking through the kind of identity connected topics. But more than that, it's just, where are you at? Are you where you want to be? If you're facing down retirement, do you know what that looks like on the other side? Do you know sort of the version of yourself you want to be on the other side? And so we've got Dr. Patrice Carter, who's coming to kind of talk to us a little bit. She's like the best. I love her to pieces.
So good.
She was our kickoff at the last event and with rave reviews. So we had to bring her back to do a different topic. So this will be a completely different topic from her this year, focused on really kind of what did you come into military life with, and what's happened to that blueprint you came with, and how do we get it to something that you're really excited about, and what does that look like for you in that transition. We've got Jen Whitmer, who's going to come and talk about burnout and what that looks like, because we know that's a thing.
Yeah.
And often from, soon to be retiring families, I'll hear that, sometimes burnout can kind of get in the way of really sort of stepping into who you want to be on the other side of service.
Truth.
And then we have Tammy Meyer is coming to do a longer workshop with us, really just on the ins and outs of identity. And then we're going to wrap up with Leah Brown, who is a Brene Brown certified Dare to Lead facilitator. And she's going to walk us through a little bit about kind of the stories, the stories that we tell ourselves, the ones that serve us, the ones that don't. How do we see the difference, and how do we harness more of the ones that help us move forward? So really excited to have her close us out.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. I'm excited. I bought my tickets and I was like, I left Jen a boxer. I was like, I just bought my tickets. I'm so excited. And then I was like, I asked her obviously a personal friend question on top of it, but we're excited, honestly. And I said this before, I went last year to support, and it was like, I had no idea it was going to be as great, in the sense of like where I was like, wow, I got so much from this. And I think this is perfect for those seasoned military spouses. Literally, I connected with people that were in the same like genre as me. And, and Jen, right, they don't have to be active duty. They can be like, retired out spouses or whatever. I think.
Yeah. I mean, we've got people already registered that are, somewhat recently retired.
Yeah.
I think it's really, looking at the website, looking at what we're going to be covering. And if that is support that you need, and you feel like you could benefit from, then like, we're happy to have you join us. But, to your point, a lot of the conversations are folks who've been around the block for a while.
Yeah.
And so, if we talk about empty nesting and we talk about transition, we're talking about slightly different things than, the very first deployment. But I think it's letting people kind of figure out what makes sense for them and what they need. Yeah. Recognizing that sometimes you don't know when you sort of need that growth spurt in your personal development.
Yeah.
And having some tools to help you if that comes along down the road, I think is also a good thing.
Absolutely. I went ahead and dropped the link to register into the comments. So if you are interested in jumping on that, just click that link. It's going to take you right to the Evolve Together website, and it will let you. And then I just want to throw up this comment really quick.
There's my husband.
Currently deployed spouse. He's burned out. So who knows? We may be having an actual active duty man at our Evolve retreat.
At our spouse
retreat. No. Honey, you go to another one that Jen will host for like military service members, because this is my time. Just kidding. But no, well, one, babe, thanks for like listening in. But Jen, I'm so looking forward to this. Like, I cannot wait. Tickets are still on sale. Yeah. Get in there. And if you're in the DC area,
you can go and
come in. Yeah, for the Saturday event is there is a DC option if folks want it. Otherwise, it's virtual. And then Sunday's workshop is all virtual for the strength.
Oh, so good. So good. So good. All right. Okay. Toolkit. Put it in your toolkit. Okay, let's see here, Anna. What's our tip jar?
So our tip jar, we always like to provide a financial tip just to close out our 15-ish minute coffee chat.
Right.
Lynn Eldridge CPA. He says, when sitting down to do your monthly bookkeeping, gather all your receipts and bank statements first, and then you'll go faster. So yeah, I don't even care if it's a box or an envelope, just stuff it in there. And then every month when you sit down, because we all know we're sitting down monthly, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Monthly.
That is not my strength.
Right? Or more frequently to do our bookkeeping. Anyway, this was just a time saver tip from Caitlin.
Yeah.
So thank you, Caitlin.
Love it.
All right. I want to just make a note that our next live stream is 4 key lessons from content creator Lauren Sang. who is a LinkedIn content creator. She does content on other places as well, but she is somebody that I follow on LinkedIn and just really enjoy having her in my space. So we're excited to bring her on next week to learn her 4 key lessons for content creation. And just one thing I'm just going to say that she says, if you create content in any way, shape, or form, you are a content creator. So this is not just for marketing specialists. This is for anyone who's running their own business, creating content on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And then always find us at annaandselena.com. Our website's up. It looks really awesome. So go there and visit it and tell us what you think. And then, of course, for 15-ish minute coffee chat, you can catch us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, any podcast platform that you want to find us at. And we'd love to have you hit subscribe.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. It was super fun.
You are going to find her podcast episode coming up shortly, so you can listen in on this and go to the Evolve retreat. Me and Anna want to see you there.
We'll see you there.
Yeah. So
for sure. Thank you so much, Jen. We love having you on as a guest. As always, fascinating conversation. I'm going to go find my 15-year-old Strengths Finder and look through it again and be like, I got to redo it.
No, we're sending our assignment is we're sending it to Jen, and I want her to be like, I know why you work really well together. I just want her to pick out one reason. I'm just curious.
If I remember, I'm just going to say, if I remember, restorative is in my top 10. I am also, I don't think positivity is anywhere in the top either, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, that is shocking. Look, we can continue. We're supposed to say goodbye, people. It is the end of the Jen. Her husband is home. She's got to spend some time. So thank you, Jen, for your space today. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
Have a good day.
Bye.